sahur.
In 2003, a man was brushing his teeth when he decided to see how far he could shove his toothbrush down his throat to test his gag reflex. But after shoving it 60 centimeters deep, he realized his body didn't even have a gag reflex. And so he decided to test the opposite and see how far he could shove his toothbrush up his ass before he involuntarily released his homemade special sauce all over the floor. However, as he inserted the toothbrush, the bristles got tangled with his ass hairs, which caused him to trip and fall out of his window 7 stories high, killing him instantly. I just completely made that up, but surprisingly, real people have died in pretty similar ways. The dumbest ways people have died by simple paint.
The fish that fought back. In 1998, a man from Ohio was hanging out with his friend when he got dared to do something stupid. His friend was cleaning out a fish tank and said that one of the fish, about 5 inches long, had been eating all the other fish. The man decided to give this fish payback. He would swallow it whole. He had done this trick before. He picked up the fish and held it over his mouth. Then he gulped it down. The fish fought back. It got stuck in his throat and was too slippery to pull out. He couldn't breathe and struggled for several minutes while his friend called 911. When paramedics got there, the man was dead, but the fish was still alive with its tail sticking out of his mouth. Both the man and the fish died.
Bro, only in Ohio could a man get killed by a goldfish. Actually, okay, wait, that fish is 5 inches long. Is that long, or is that big or small? Like, it depends who you ask. Maybe if you ask someone with a tiny, minuscule dingaling, maybe he will say that is big, but for me, that is tiny. Like, how can a tiny little goldfish kill a fully grown 6 foot tall man? Any other country, any other state, this would never happen. Only in Ohio.
Only in Ohio.
The chimney grenade. On January 13th, 2005, 55-year-old Marco decided to clean the chimney in his workshop. He tried using a simple broom, but it was too small for the job. He needed to improvise.
No.
Marco figured he needed a chain to pull the broom through the chimney and a heavy object to weigh it down. Looking around his workshop, he found what he thought was perfect: a grenade.
Bro, who has a stray grenade lying around their house? And secondly, who in their right mind would decide to use a grenade to clean your chimney? Out of all heavy objects, why would you use a grenade? Because a grenade isn't even that heavy. You could have just used the box underneath it. Or you could have even used your couch. I think your couch would have been a much better alternative. Like, dragging your couch through your chimney would have been 100 times better than dragging a grenade through your chimney.
His plan was simple. He would weld the grenade to the broom and chain. Then he could pull the whole thing through the chimney. Marco got out his welding equipment and started working. He failed to think about what might happen when he put a flame near a grenade. As soon as the welding torch touched the grenade, it exploded. Marco was killed instantly. The chimney was left completely untouched by the blast.
Well, at least the chimney was spared. At least the innocent chimney was not touched. It wasn't diddled by, not P. Diddy, but by this guy. That chimney was about to be brutally diddled by that grenade, but instead, this guy was the only guy that got touched by the grenade.
The encyclopedia test. In June 2017, Pedro Ruiz and Mona Lisa Perez decided their...
What? Who names their kid Mona Lisa? Is Mona Lisa a real name? I thought that was the name of the painting done by Leonardo DiCaprio. They turned that painting into a real person?
Pedro Ruiz and Mona Lisa Perez decided their YouTube channel needed more views. Their wholesome family videos weren't working, so they switched to pranks. The numbers went up. Pedro figured if pranks worked, extreme pranks would work even better. So he came up with a simple test. See if a book could stop a bullet. He would hold a 1.5-inch encyclopedia to his chest. Mona Lisa would shoot it from 1 foot away. Simple.
Bro, what do you mean simple? 1 feet away. I mean, yes, at least you won't miss the book, but at the same time, this is point blank range. This is within 30 centimeters. This is literally point blank range. I don't even think anything could survive this distance. I'm sure if you shot it from, like a long way away, maybe it would be able to stop the bullet, but from point blank range, there is absolutely no way.
They set up cameras and invited over 30 friends to watch. The gun they chose was a Desert Eagle, one of the most powerful handguns in the world.
Right.
She pulled the trigger. The bullet went straight through the book and killed Pedro instantly. Mona Lisa called the police and claimed she'd accidentally shot her boyfriend. The footage said otherwise. She pleaded guilty to manslaughter and got 180 days in prison.
Bro, you killed another person and you only get 180 days in prison. You are literally the reason why that person is dead and you only get 180 days in prison. That is embarrassing. That is actually embarrassing. I guarantee if the gender roles were reversed, that dude would have gotten 180 years in prison. But I mean, what are you doing using a Desert Eagle in this situation? I would have thought you used, some regular gun, but isn't this like the most powerful pistol in Fortnite and even CSGO and Valorant? Everyone knows that. Everyone knows if you do a headshot with with a deagle in CSGO, that's like an instant kill, I'm pretty sure, unless you got heavy armor on.
The scooter duel. In 2004, two Taiwanese college students met up one evening and had a few drinks. After talking, they both found out they liked the same girl on campus. This got them upset, and they decided to have a contest to see who would get the right to ask her out. How did they settle this? Rock, paper, scissors? A coin flip? Nope. They decided to joust like knights, but instead of horses, they would use their scooters.
Great. What a brilliant solution. This is an ingenious solution. So instead of, just letting the best man win fair and square and, just doing your own riz on the girl, seeing who the girl chooses, you're gonna, just try to decide it between you two. What if the girl likes the other person that ends up losing the joust? I feel like at this point, instead of jousting on horses or jousting on scooters, you should have just jousted with no equipment, just ran at each other, butt naked, and just let your dinglings just hit each other. Whoever doesn't get stabbed by the other dingling wins.
The rules were simple. They would ride straight at each other at full speed, and whoever turned away first would lose. So without helmets or any safety gear, the two rode their scooters directly at each other, hitting 50 miles per hour. Neither one wanted to be the first to chicken out. They crashed head-on. Both of them died. Later, someone asked the girl about it. She said she wasn't interested in either of them anyway. They both died for nothing.
And so that's why they should have done the butt naked strat. They should have just stripped butt naked, ran at each other rock hard, and just touch tips. Then at least, since the girl didn't want to date any of them, they could, I don't know, date each other. They could explore their preferences, and maybe they could just date each other instead.
The unbreakable window. Gary Hoy was a lawyer in Toronto. He worked on the 24th floor and had a weird habit. Whenever law students visited his firm, Gary liked to show them how strong the windows were by running across his office and slamming his whole body into the window. Gary had done this dozens of times. The windows never broke. On July 9th, 1993, Gary was giving law students a tour. "These windows can't break," he said. He ran backward and threw himself at the window. It worked perfectly. He bounced right off. Feeling good, Gary decided to do it again. This time, the glass didn't break, but the whole window popped out of its frame. Gary went flying 24 stories down, riding the window all the way to the street. The law students and his co-workers watched in horror. Gary had hit that window so many times over the years that he'd loosened the frame. He died instantly.
But I mean, technically he wasn't wrong. The window still didn't break. It's just that it just completely popped out of its socket. I guess he still had a 100% success rate. He never broke that window. But I mean, this seems like, like a typical like uncle dad thing to do, like a granddad thing to do. Is like, oh my god, look how strong my window is, and then like, I mean, look how happy he looks. Like this seems like some sort of stereotypical like uncle dad who's just like the type of guy to crack a bunch of like dad jokes and everything. And I bet this was one of his dad jokes to just run full speed at the window and just scare everyone, and then like nothing happens until one day he just pops the whole thing out of the socket.
The umbrella trick. Back in 1999, a bizarre story out of Bonn, Germany made headlines. It was said that a local street performer had built his career on extreme tricks. He was normally just a sword swallower. He could apparently fit long balloons, metal rods, and even umbrellas down his throat. Crowds loved it. One day, during a performance, he decided to push the act further. He grabbed a folded umbrella and began swallowing it to show off his skills. While sliding the umbrella down, he accidentally pressed the automatic release button on the handle. The umbrella snapped open, while still in his throat. The crowd watched in shock. The performer collapsed instantly. It sounds like the perfect Darwin Award, but there's one problem. Nobody has ever confirmed it actually happened. Sword swallowers themselves later came forward to call the story impossible. A folded umbrella is far too wide to even fit down a throat. That leaves the umbrella trick as one of the most popular Darwin Award legends, but almost certainly nothing more than an urban legend.
I mean, you never know though, you never know. This guy could be a throat goat, and so the width of the umbrella may have not been an issue. He may have still been able to down that, honestly. And so if this is true, if that guy was able to down a thick umbrella, get me his number immediately. Someone get me in contact with this person. I do not care how long it takes. I need to get in contact with this person. Because imagine the Hawk Tour. Like, I'm completely straight, but at the same time, that would go absolutely crazy. Like, this guy might be the throat goat. But of course, that's if it's true, of course. So this is, what is that, Germany? If anyone is viewing this video from Germany, can you please find out whether this is true? And if it is true, can you please get me in contact with this person if he's still alive? Actually, wait, no, he died. Yeah, wait, what am I talking about?
The DIY bungee jump. On July 12th, 1997, Eric Barsha decided to go bungee jumping on his day off. The 22-year-old fast food worker couldn't find any bungee jumping places in the area, so he figured he'd do it himself. He picked a railroad bridge in Lake Accotink Park, Virginia. It was 70 feet high. perfect for a homemade bungee jump. Eric tied together several bungee cords and reinforced them with duct tape. He was really thinking about safety.
Bro, he was really thinking about safety, yet he attaches the rope to himself, not by tying it, but by taping duct tape to himself. Of course, the duct tape is not going to be able to hold him as he goes down. He's 100% going to slip out and end up like the scrambled eggs I cooked this morning. They were actually pretty decent, although I kind of overcooked them.
He tied one end around his leg and the other to the bridge. Then he jumped. There was just one problem with his plan. Eric never considered that bungee cords stretch when you fall. The cords he'd tied together were already a few feet shorter than the bridge height. When they stretched, they became even longer than the distance to the ground. Eric hit the pavement 70 feet below with such force that he died instantly. A local man found his body the next morning with the bungee cord still attached to his leg. His grandmother told reporters he was always so smart in school.
Okay, Grandma, I hate to break it to you, but you gotta take your meds. Grandma, you can take your meds and go back to sleep. Go back to the nursing home. You've had enough active hours today. Grandma's just a little bit tired. She's not thinking straight. She's actually not thinking straight. Just go take your meds. Just go back. Because there is no way anyone who is smart at school and has good grades would forget to consider the length of a bungee jump. This guy's 22 years old. He's younger than me. And for some reason, first of all, he has a hobby of bungee jumping, even though he's never done it before. And second of all, why would you spend your day off going bungee jumping instead of, playing video games like a normal 22-year-old?
Who wants some of this? It was 2004 in Wales when a young man invited friends back to his apartment after a night of heavy drinking. The party continued at his place, and that's when he got a brilliant idea. He pulled down his trousers and stuck himself out the window yelling, "Who wants some of this?" to the street below.
Damn, what a brilliant idea. What a brilliant idea. So I assume he's, just trying to do the thug shake outside. He has his ding-a-ling hanging down, like sort of whipping around like a helicopter, and he's just, swinging it out outside the window. I think the only time I've ever done this was, one day I woke in GTA, I woke up one morning, went to my balcony, and, may or may not have released my homemade special sauce onto the pedestrians walking down below in GTA. But apart from that, bro, there is no excuse for doing this. That is actually just so weird.
His friends grabbed him before he could fall out of the 3-story window. The next morning, he admitted it had been pretty stupid. He promised he'd never do anything like that again. That very evening, he was drunk again. And once again, he pulled down his trousers and started yelling, "Who wants some of this?" out the window. This time, his friends weren't close enough to grab him. He tumbled out of the 3-story window and died on impact.
And I bet he died a virgin. He spent every single evening getting drunk and screaming out to women below, "Who wants some of this?" And not at one single time, not once did they come up and get some of this. He died a absolute virgin. He was 30 years old, had a neck beard, and was still living in his mom's basement, which happens to be on the 3rd floor of a apartment building.
The patriotic hat. On July 4th, 2024, in Somerville, South Carolina, Alan Ray McGrew decided to take his patriotic costume to the next level. The 41-year-old HVAC technician was hosting a neighborhood block party, dressed in a red, white, and blue Uncle Sam outfit with a top hat. The drinking had started around 6 p.m. Fireworks were planned for the evening. Alan loved his country and looked forward to celebrating each year. At around 10:20 p.m., Alan placed a large firework right on top of his Uncle Sam hat. His wife Paige thought he was just messing around. Surely he wouldn't light something on his head. He had already lit it. The firework exploded and caused what paramedics called massive head trauma. Alan was dead instantly. He had become his own fireworks display.
Bro, was this guy trying to become the American Dragon Warrior? He was trying to do the Kung Fu Panda type beat, but in reverse. He was trying to become the Dragon Warrior. He was trying to land in front of Master Oogway, but the American version. And I assume the American version is just so dumb that it just ends up in death instead of, being selected as the Dragon Warrior.
Hold your Wii for a Wii. In 2007, Jennifer Strange heard about a radio contest in Sacramento. The 28-year-old mother of 3 wanted to win a Nintendo Wii for her kids. The contest was called Hold Your Wii for a Wii. You had to drink water and hold it in without using the bathroom. Jennifer showed up with about 20 other contestants. They started drinking bottle after bottle of water. As hours went by, contestants dropped out to use the bathroom. Jennifer held on.
Wait, did he just say hours after hours after hours? Wait, so that means they would have spent, I don't know, like working hours doing this? They could have just worked at their job and earned enough money to buy a Wii. How much does a Wii even cost? I assume a Wii would have costed maybe like $200 back in the day. And if they're spending, I don't know, like 3, 4, 5 hours doing that, that's like $40 an hour, I'm pretty sure they would have been able to just earn that much money during, like, you know, working at work and just buying the Wii. So nothing was actually gained here. You just wasted potential revenue earned by, you know, you could have been working at your job just to get this Wii that is worth less than how much you would have been paid if you just stayed at your job and didn't skip work that day.
After several hours, Jennifer started throwing up, but she didn't quit. Jennifer won the contest and got her Nintendo Wii. She went home feeling terrible. The next day, she called in sick with a massive headache. A few hours later, Jennifer was dead. She had died from water intoxication. Too much water made her brain swell up. Her 3 children lost their mother over a video game. Her family sued the radio station and won $16.5 million.
Bro, $16.5 million. I mean, okay, the mom is dead and the 3 children don't have a mom, but $16 million. Bro, okay. We gotta think about this. So if that family could turn back time and, you know, just turn back time and save the mom, but not have the $16 million, do you think they would? Like that's a tough question. Do you think they would? Because $16 million, that's like multiple generations worth of wealth. They don't have to work like a single, like the children don't have to work a single day for the rest of their lives. But also, how did they manage to win that case when it was pretty clearly the mother's fault because she chose to enter this competition? Like, yes, the radio station probably didn't have enough safety precautions, but at the same time, they probably would have signed some sort of waiver before doing this, right?
The fake robbery. On January 18th, 1977, Italian footballer Luciano Recchiaconi had a brilliant idea. The 28-year-old Lazio player, known as the Blonde Angel, was famous for his pranks. Recchiaconi and his teammate Pietro Gadin decided to stage a fake robbery at their friend Bruno Tabacini's jewelry store in Rome. They thought it would be funny to scare Bruno and then laugh about it later.
What a hilarious joke. What an absolute hilarious joke. Not funny, didn't laugh. What a brilliant idea. What an absolute brilliant idea to stage a robbery. I wonder what could go wrong here.
They covered their faces and walked into the store with guns out, yelling, "Hands in the air! This is a stick-up!" There was one problem with their plan. The jewelry store had been robbed just a few weeks earlier. Bruno was scared it would happen again, so he had gotten a shotgun to protect himself. When Bruno saw the robbers, he pulled out his shotgun. Pietro immediately put his hands up, but Recchiaconi kept going with the prank. He wouldn't put his gun down. Bruno was scared and shot Recchiaconi in the chest from close range. Recchiaconi's last words were, "It's a joke! It's just a joke!" But it was too late. He died 30 minutes later at 28 years old, leaving behind his wife and 2 kids. Bruno Tabacini was arrested and held for 18 days before being released without charge. It was declared that the death was the result of self-defense and a terrible accident.
It's just a prank, bro. It's just a prank. The camera's right there, bro. The camera's right there, bro. This is exactly why we do not do these type of pranks anymore on YouTube. This is why YouTube does not, you know, allow any of these type of pranks to be posted on YouTube anymore. But imagine being this guy, though. You accidentally kill one of your own friends. Because I'm pretty sure these 2 people were friends with this guy, and that's why they decided to prank this specific store. Imagine accidentally killing one of your best friends. That is insane. And so honestly, screw this guy. Serves this guy right. Because you've just ruined this guy's entire life. You've ruined his life forever.
The sleeping bear. In 1906, a young hunter in Pennsylvania was out hunting when he found a huge black bear lying on the ground. The bear looked dead, and the hunter thought he got lucky. He found a free bear without having to shoot it. So he got out his knife and started cutting up the animal right away. There was just one problem. The hunter never checked if the bear was really dead. He just started cutting. The bear wasn't dead. It was sleeping. When the hunter started cutting it, the bear woke up angry. It attacked and tore the hunter to pieces. The hunter died right there.
I mean, honestly, if I was a bear, I would most likely... Actually, you know what? Not even most likely. I would definitely do the exact same thing. Because nobody is going to brutally diddle me and cut me up while I'm sleeping. If anyone tries to cut me up while I'm sleeping, I think I'm going to, you know, do the reverse and brutally diddle them and cut them up as well.
The water thief. On April 19th, 2022, Easter Monday in Italy, a 46-year-old man was thirsty. All the stores were closed for the holiday, so he broke into a grocery store to get some water. He found a huge tower of water bottle boxes stacked up by the workers. Instead of taking a bottle from the shelf, he decided to pull one from the middle of the stack. Anyone who's played Jenga knows this is a bad idea.
I mean, I feel like anyone who has at least 2 brain cells, regardless of whether they have played Jenga or not, would understand that this is a horrible idea.
He grabbed a bottle from a box right in the middle of the tower. The whole thing came down on top of him. The man got crushed under all that water and died right away. Store workers found the mess the next day when they came to work. They started cleaning up the fallen boxes and lifting them one by one. When they lifted the first box, an arm stuck out. The police watched security camera footage to see what happened. The man had broken in just to get a drink and got killed by the water he was trying to steal.
And so what happened next? The police have a look at the footage and then, I don't know, they just laugh at it and then they just move on with their day? What are they meant to do? Realistically, what are they meant to do? No one can really be held accountable in this situation, can they? It's not like it's the grocery store's fault, is it?
Road rage showdown. In 2021, 2 drivers crashed on Interstate 80 in Berkeley. Nobody got hurt, but both drivers got out to argue about it. They didn't pull over. They started yelling at each other right in the middle of the highway. Cars were flying by. The 2 men kept shouting and making threats. Then a Mini Cooper came down the road. The driver swerved to avoid the damaged cars, but couldn't miss the 2 idiots fighting in traffic. The Mini Cooper hit both of them. They both died instantly. The Mini Cooper driver was traumatized.
But surely the Mini Cooper gets charged for this because, like, even though the people are, like, just standing on the road, is it not, like, that hard to just avoid them? Like, you could have just slowed down. You don't have to be driving that fast on the road, especially when you can see 2 parked cars, like, in a crash, like, further up. I feel like what they should have done was turn on the hazard lights. Like, that's why if you ever get into, like, a car accident or something and you're on the road and you have to stop, do the flashing hazard lights so that people can see you. Because I'm pretty sure a few months ago this year in Australia, so basically what had happened was that a car crashed into a kangaroo on the road at night, and so they pulled over to the side of the road to try and see if the kangaroo was okay, try to help the kangaroo. But since it was at night and everything, like, the cars didn't see them, and basically what happened was that another car on the freeway killed these 2 people who were trying to help the kangaroo. And so that's why if you ever need to stop, like, do not even stop on a freeway at night with no lights. And secondly, if you do need to stop, like, if you're forced to stop, just put on your hazard lights, like the flashing hazard lights.
The falling dog. In 1988 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, a little poodle named Kachi was playing on a balcony. The dog was having fun when it suddenly fell off the railing. Kachi plunged 13 floors down to the street. The poodle landed directly on the head of 75-year-old Marta Espina, who was walking along the sidewalk. The falling dog killed her instantly. But that wasn't the end of it. A crowd rushed over to see what happened. A woman named Edith Solo came over to look at the scene. While Edith was distracted by the carnage, she walked into the street and got hit by a bus. She died too, but the chaos wasn't over yet. An older man saw all this happening and got so stressed out that he had a fatal heart attack on the spot. One falling poodle killed 3 people in 5 minutes.
Bro, that is not only a triple kill, but I'm pretty sure that is a quadruple kill because the dog accidentally unalived itself as well. That is insane. I don't think I've done that before. Not even in actually, maybe I've done that in Valorant, but in, like, Overwatch, that's kind of hard to do unless you're, I don't know, like a tank, or unless you're just, like, cracked as a like a sojourn in Overwatch. But a quadruple kill. So this person has a 4.0 KDA because it's like 4 kills, 1 death, and that one of those kills was an accidental, like, like self-unalive. But I mean, if this dog was me, I would have gone for the quintuple kill. I would have gone for the ace. That's like in Valorant, 5 kills is an ace because you kill the entire, like, other team.
The bridge jump. On May 24th, 2019, 2 friends from Texas were driving south through Lake Charles, Louisiana at 2 in the morning. Alejandro Cazares was behind the wheel. Roberto Moreno was riding shotgun. They came to a drawbridge that was up to let boats pass. A safety gate blocked the road. Most people would wait for the bridge to come back down. Not these guys. Roberto got out of the car and pushed the safety gate up out of the way. He jumped back in the car. Cazares drove under the gate and headed straight for the bridge ramp. They stopped for a second at the bottom. Then Cazares put the car in reverse, backed up, and floored it. They were going to jump the gap like in an action movie. The car went airborne for a brief moment. Then it crashed into the water below. The car sank to the bottom. Cazares was trapped inside and drowned. Moreno was found outside the submerged car, but he drowned too.
Bro, what did they expect though? Like, did they expect this to be some sort of Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie with this giant SUV, a yellow SUV? Everyone knows that the fastest cars are red, not yellow. And so I feel like step 1 would have been to get, I don't know, maybe a sedan car, like just something lighter, because this car is obviously way too heavy. And then second of all, you should have got either like a red car or like a blue car or something, and then that would have been like slightly faster. It would have increased the speed by around like 20% or something. And then thirdly, you should have got like an actual like racing car, like a Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, what other cars exist? Or even better, if you're gonna attempt to do this, at least know how to swim before you do this. Like, at least be prepared for the worst. And I think the worst is, of course, like falling into the water. Like, you should know how to swim if you're gonna attempt this.
The plastic bag beekeeper. In 2002, a Brazilian farmer found a beehive on his property, so he decided to get rid of them by using fire. The farmer put on gloves, long pants, and a long-sleeved shirt. He sealed everything with tape so bees couldn't crawl into his clothes. Then he put a plastic bag over his head and sealed it tightly around his neck. This would protect his face from bee stings.
But it will
Finally,
also kill
he
you.
grabbed-
It will actually genuinely suffocate you and make you like completely brain dead. Zero oxygen. Everyone knows never put a plastic bag over your head. That's why a lot of, plastic bags for toys and everything have like inbuilt holes in it so that if any stupid kids put it over their head, they can still breathe. And this happened in 2002 as well. Bro, the internet was invented by then. You could have easily learned from the internet never to put a plastic bag over your head.
Finally, he grabbed a torch and went off to burn the hive. A few hours later, he hadn't come back. His worried wife went looking for him. She found him dead under the beehive, but the bees hadn't killed him. In fact, the hive was completely untouched. The plastic bag had worked perfectly. It kept out the bees, the smoke, and the oxygen he needed to breathe. The farmer had forgotten to poke air holes in the bag. With his gloves taped down, he couldn't rip the bag off his head. He suffocated trying to protect himself from bee stings.
Well, I guess he was successful then. So he managed to be completely intact and safe from bee stings, although he's just dead. Like, it wasn't really worth it. I think I'd much rather be stung by a million bees and alive compared to, being stung by 0 bees and dead.
The lava lamp. In 2004, 24-year-old Philip wanted to use his lava lamp. He plugged it in and waited for it to start working. After a few minutes, nothing was happening. The lamp was still cold. Philip was impatient, so he came up with a brilliant plan to speed things up. He took the lava lamp and put it on his hot stove. There was just one problem Philip didn't know about. Lava lamps are only designed to handle temperatures up to 40 degrees. A hot stove gets way hotter than that. The lava lamp quickly overheated and exploded. Glass shards flew everywhere. One piece of glass went straight into Philip's heart. He died instantly.
Well, at least he got to turn his lava lamp into, the lava lamp he was hoping for. I think this guy confused a lava lamp with, a volcano. The lava lamp is not meant to explode like a volcano. Because this guy basically just created a grenade. I'm pretty sure the way a grenade works is that it explodes on the inside and the shards come out from the outside, and that's what, hits you and kills you. I think he made a homemade grenade out of a lava lamp. Okay. Not brilliant. I was about to say brilliant, but this is not good.